was just very difficult for me. When this horrific murder took place, it was such an adjustment to me that, here I was a single parent. She was my only child, and I thought, what am I going to do the rest of my life? My career was going so well. I was getting ready, to retire, hopefully within 8 years. And I knew that I wanted to do something, and what can I do to help others? But as a victim of domestic violence, I was afraid to talk about that. Like many victims, even after so many years, that was difficult for me, let alone, when my daughter never talked about it. And I also had to look at what she went through. My daughter was in a home where her father abused me constantly. And in the room where she sat, when he pushed her in her bedroom, she knew what was going on, but we didn't talk about it. And I now know that she was a victim of domestic violence just like myself. Whenever I listen to these children, I also think about where my daughter was at that point, because children, they have a voice too. They're victims and they need to be heard.
So initially, our relationship was about working on the case and working through the investigation and the charging and the resolution of the case, which took a period of months. In the later years, as Nancy became an incredible friend to me and to my office and to victims of crime in general, the relationship developed, and of course, Randi's House of Angels was started, and the focus changed from the criminal case and the wrongdoers to trying to do some good.
Back in 2015, my sister was murdered by her husband. My sister's children, they were the ones who found my sister, and they were 5 and 3. I needed some help, and I didn't know where to turn. I read about Nancy's daughter, Randi, and I sent an email, I think it was 2 in the morning, and it was within 24 hours that Nancy herself was the one who contacted me. There's no manual. There's no manual on what to do when your sister's murdered and you're fighting for custody of her kids against the murderer, and how to get those kids help and how to get yourself, no, there's nothing on that. The whole organization, they hold your hand the whole way through. And the scariest part is doing it for the first time. And then you realize it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
My managerial part of my mind began to look at and do a lot of research to look at what's happening in the community, and recognizing there's a lot of good agencies that provide assistance to victims of domestic violence. What I wanted to concentrate on was children. And I knew that children, of course, perpetuate behavior that they learn within their homes, especially when there's domestic violence.
Domestic violence is a cycle. It's a cycle through families. And so breaking that cycle so that these children do not find themselves in violent adult relationships is essential. We have to give them the skills so that they know what a healthy and functioning relationship looks like.
I became involved because I myself am a child of domestic violence, and I wanted to reach out and do something to help children that are still continuing to suffer what I went through. I grew up in the 70s, so we didn't really have anything like this, and I feel like this is a great tool to help children overcome or break the cycle of domestic violence.
I began to talk to some of my very good confidants and advisors in my life and mentors, and found that, maybe this is where I should concentrate my efforts, and certainly not duplicate what's out there already, which is doing so well.
I've been at PSECU for 38 years, and it's because I believe in the philosophy of people helping people, which is the credit union philosophy. We've always held children and the well-being of our communities at the heart of everything that we've done as an organization. So it was a natural fit for us to really get involved with Randi's House of Angels.
As a company with New York Life, it's one of our core values. We're all about helping others. We're all about integrity and and doing what's right, especially in the community. So with us, we do a lot of different things to get people behind the cause.
I think we have a tremendous board of directors, a lot of experience with the domestic violence associations, many of them retired from there. We're there because we want to be there, and we know that we have a fighting chance at helping combat domestic violence. When you're dealing with kids too, when you throw kids in the picture with anything, I think that alone helps you fight even harder.
When a parent or guardian goes to a shelter, they don't necessarily get the therapy, and I stress therapy because that is the key to what is so unique about Randi's House of Angels. When I started this nonprofit, I wanted to make sure that I didn't create any competition, because in the world of domestic violence, you don't want to create competition. You want to be a resource to individuals that are truly victimized, and so that you can see how all those resources come together to help you.
Randi's House of Angels is able to offer programs that are ongoing. They have a longer time frame. We can see kids year after year. They might go to camp, and they might go to kids club during the school year, and they might start off in the little kids therapy program and work their way through. So we can put in the time with them. We don't have those restrictions, and I think that is really important because the kids can grow with us.
This is a club for little kids. This is not adults. And to think of what some of these kids have seen, have gone through themselves, and then to be able to sit as a group with their peers and actually talk about it, and be very honest because they know that they're in a safe environment.
These kids aren't victims anymore. When they come to us, they're survivors.
We need to continue to educate parents about the impact of domestic violence on children. And we need to move on from how domestic violence just impacts me as a victim, and realize that it does impact your child.
By the time the oldest got to go, I had an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And that 8-year-old would not be physical, would not hug, would not kiss. And I'll never forget, it was the day coming out of Clubhouse where she literally ran down the aisle and threw her arms around me. And I was just so taken aback because that girl had never done that ever.
Well, the children are incredibly courageous. There's hope that my family can be different, hope that when I'm an adult, my relationships can be different.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. You just have to get out of your own way to get the help. And if you have a hard time, all you have to do is contact them. They will walk you through every step of the way to help you.
What Nancy has done and what Randi's House of Angels has done is to give people hope who are going through some of the worst situations you can imagine.
Anyone that wants to get involved with Randi's House of Angels, I open the door to them, because I know that their resources and experience will only build the capacity of what we're trying to do.
The expertise of the Randi's House of Angels Program Committee allows us to develop the curriculum and treatment approaches based on current best practices.
You can become involved in some capacity. There are all sorts of ways that you can step up, whether it's the golf tournament, whether it's the race, whether it's just wanting to help out and pitching in whatever way you can.
For about 10 years, I was a Girl Scout, and I worked my way the entire way through. And one of the meetings we had, Nancy actually came and spoke to us and talked about Randi's House of Angels. And ever since that meeting, I've been involved in volunteering. You can see firsthand how you're helping individuals and how powerful that can be, and knowing that you're doing something and making an impact on other people's lives.
You can control how much you get involved in and where you put your efforts. And so it shouldn't be an intimidating thing. It's not like you got to make an 80-hour-a-week commitment. You can make an 80-hour-a-year commitment, but it's every little bit helps. You're serving your community, you're giving back to your community, you're helping a great cause, and you're doing something for yourself because you learn so much from being involved in charitable organizations.
It's also incredibly moving too, because you're not only are you seeing the transformation, but you know that you're having a hand in it and you're helping everybody that's involved in those groups.
Take a look at our website. that will direct you to what we do and who we're involved with and better educate you on our mission and our goals. We have an opportunity collectively to make a difference.
I go from reading financial reports and leading a department for my full-time job to reading financial reports and creating budgets for Randy's House of Angels. The full-time job is great, but when I do it for Randy's House of Angels, it's like, okay, this is gonna make a huge impact. This is life or death that we're talking about. If we don't get the funding that we need to provide the therapeutic services, somebody's life could potentially be on the line.
We are directly helping people in need. The money that's been raised, it doesn't go to high salaries and overhead and things like that. It goes to directly help victims and children who've been through trauma. So Nancy put all of her expertise and intelligence and energy into trying to make something good out of something that is incredibly bad, but she's used that as a launching pad to do so much good, and I just admire her greatly.
I don't feel that I'm the sole person for this organization. It's who I surround myself with and the expertise. And I think that's what's made Randy's House of Angels so successful, is the individuals that volunteer, that come into and want to work with Randy's House of Angels. So.